right. Call meeting to order. Thanks everybody today for being here and everybody's on the phone line. Can I get a roll call, Sherry?
Jess Warren, Patrick Updike, Bob Uni, Tom Buckman,
Yes.
Tom Lampy, John Benson,
Here.
Bob Von Wolfrat, Michael Arrett, Andy Buffington, Ellen Hagan, Deb Craybill, Carrie Devine,
On the phone?
Jason Leonard,
Here.
Ted Comanches, Michael Casper, Carolyn Smith, Linda Frederickson,
On the phone?
Kelly Rosekirk, here, Senator Feenstra, Senator Brace, Representative Kresick, Representative Holt, Craig Allen,
Here.
Okay.
seven.
Got some.
Okay. I thought we needed more than that.
We need more than that.
We have 12.
I think
We have a
we're
vacant
12.
position though.
Yeah, that gives us from 13 to 12, and 19.
Okay, so we do not have a quorum.
We've got some people still coming.
We do have some people that should be here. Patrick just came in, so actually, let's go through the introduction of the board members that are present right now. So,
Tom Buckman, Iowa Department of Public Health.
Kelly Rosekirk, member at large.
Patrick Updike, Iowa Department of Corrections. Sean Wagner, ISICSB First and Outreach. John Benson, with Department of Homeland Security Emergency.
Sherry Murphy, Public Safety.
Craig Allen, the SWIC.
Jason Leonard from the Waverly Police Department. Any members on the phone?
One more time, CCIL.
Thank you, Bob.
And Carrie Devine, Warren PD.
Thank you, Carrie.
Linda Frederickson, Emergency Medical Services.
Thank you.
Okay. What's that? Great. With that, with the board members being introduced, let's go around and our guests today.
Sally Hall from Iowa County 911 and also from the State 911 Communications Council.
Rob Rutter, Iowa County Sheriff, also on the 911 Council. Dwayne Boss with Raycom.
Cindy Benson, County Emergency Manager and 911 Director.
Court Overton, Governor's Office.
Bill McCall, Story County EMA Association.
Carolyn McCall, Visitor.
Bob Seibert, Shelby County Emergency Management, Vice Chair of the Iowa 911 Council.
Blake Dorsey, Homeland Security Emergency Management, 911 Program Manager.
Brett Long, Coconut Sheriff's Office.
Dennis Art, Urban Management.
Kevin Cotton, Iowa Communications Alliance.
And Rob Coppard with the Cass County, also on the 911 Advisory Council and the Region 4 RIC Chair.
Okay. Thank you. Since we don't have a quorum, we will not be able to take any business actions like approving agendas and minutes. We will follow along with it as much as possible and just basically do some informational output on each one of the committees as we go along. So I guess we'll start with Craig. You want to start with your report?
Sure. Thank you. This last month, I attended a National Council of SWICs meeting in northern Oklahoma. And at that time, there were two primary issues that were facing the 56 SWICs. One of them doesn't affect us and one of them does affect us. The First one that doesn't necessarily affect us is the challenges that many of the urban areas are having adapting to the coming changes in the T-band. And what that is a frequency that will be allocated towards FirstNet it's currently being used for voice in many of the urban areas because they're out of channels. So if they don't have a trunk system, that complicates it. If they do have a trunk system, they then have to have enough trunk channels to accommodate all of these users that have been using the T-band. And so one of the incidents that I'm sure all of you are familiar with is the Boston bombing. And at that time, that was the primary system that was used for interoperability was the T-band. And that kind of got the conversation going about, wait a minute, if this goes away, look what this is going to do. And so they started the conversation among those urban area chiefs about, we have to find a better solution to this. So we had a better part of a 4-hour discussion about the value and need for T-band largely in urban areas, and that those more agrarian states, it doesn't affect us as much. So it affects a lot of the country's population. It just doesn't affect a lot of the publics, the states, our national geography. But that was one of the topics. The second one is changes to ICS, so the incident command system that's used for anytime there's a response to an event, which is in the center of what this board is all about. And right now, the communications unit is located in the logistics section in incident command. And the challenge has been, as you get these after-action reports, the incident commanders are getting frustrated in that they're not getting what they want in the way that they want it, in the timeliness that they want it. So there's some discussion about making a structural alignment or change and moving the communications unit, COMU, up at a much higher level in the incident command system, so that it would be at a commander or above level. So it's for those of us that don't deal in it every day, and Iowa doesn't deal in the communications incident structure every day, like some other areas do. It probably isn't as acute, but it does have an impact on training, and it would have an impact on how we laid out our operations and plans. So I share that with you as just some of the things that will be coming down on our road as we move forward as a board. The other thing is that a good number of our people today, I believe, are on their way here from an initial detailed design review for the LMR system. You know, Chair Lampy is kind of heading that up, and so we may hear some more people joining us on the phone, but that's where several of our members are right now, is that they're representing their interest in that. A topic that we may be or may not be taking action on, but would be discussed today, is encryption of radios and a policy that would address that. And that's one of the things that, as your SWIC, I've put a good deal of time into. I socialized that at the National Council of SWICs, and there was actually a presentation on encryption, and everything that I did see and everyone that I talked to indicated that our approach is probably the best practice of the moment. Not the best practices can't get better, but based on the skills, knowledge, and ability we've got today, it seems like we're on the right road. I couldn't find anybody who had any problems with it. There will also, likely hear a little bit that I spent some time on this month, deal with interoperability channel policy. We had some, over the last couple of months, we've been talking about the challenges with interference on point-to-point, and we put a good deal of labor into that. And I want to thank Rob Copper and Rob Denner for the extra going above and beyond the call of duty. They were sequestered with me for 4 hours, and that's never fun. Most people don't want that much of my time. So it was a good outcome. I think we came up with a product that will be value added for the board. We did get, as you know, you approved your TIA membership last month. If you go out to the TIA website, I don't know that we've received a bill from them yet, but they have put the Iowa is now listed, the Interoperability Board is now listed on the TIA website as a member. So we'll be getting some more information out to the folks, and we'll be working closely with Patrick on the technology committee to get information out. I believe you should be on part of the distro list now. I gave them your email, so are you seeing anything from them yet?
I haven't had a lot of computer time the last couple of days. So.
Okay. All right. Well, that will I put you down as the primary alternate to push some of that stuff out as appropriate. We now have, not to steal any of Sean's thunder, but we've completed our bricks, and we now have all of those chaired, which is exciting, and there'll be more talk about that later. Spent time on that this month, which then drives the need for creating a new user group committee, which I believe Chair Uni will be talking about in their governance when he gets here, which is activity for the board that would drive then some changes to our skip. And so I've been ghostwriting some of that into the, bring our strategic plan more in line with having an additional 7th committee, should that be approved. So that pretty much concludes my report of major activities that have been undertaken this month, and I'm open to any questions or any concerns.
What's the, on the issue of the T-band that you were talking about, what are they going to try to use that for?
Well, what the current consumers would like to do is they would like to have a more elegant migration off of it. In other words, they want a timeline that is longer to allow them to get into budget cycles and either procure equipment, acquire channels, come up with a plan.
So they don't want people to migrate off of the T-band?
They're basically telling them they're going off of the T-band. It's like narrowbanding. It has a date certain, and date certain your dial tone goes off. And they're saying that we don't have enough time in the timeline that's been provided to migrate from that, and that FirstNet won't be using it that quickly. Couldn't we have a deferred timeline? Well, that's really the crux of the conversation.
I'm probably getting too deep at what was FirstNet's intent with the T-band.
Wasn't FirstNet's, it was legislation, it's law. The FCC is pinned in a corner. They can't give a pass because they don't have the authority to give a pass. So it's a legislative issue. It was the way the legislation was written. It gave some hard and fast dates. And those hard and fast dates are upon us. And as we all know, many budgets haven't recovered from some of the devastation that happened pre 2008, 2009. And the urban areas are affected by it as much as other areas. So that's been part of the issue, is coming up with the revenue streams to be able to solve that problem, and then to find the frequencies, if they have to do that, in a band that's unoccupied. Thank you. That's my report, sir.
Thank you, sir. Any other questions for Craig? All right. Moving on then, I see Chair Ray from the 911 Council is not here, but Bob, would you like to take the floor, please, for a 911 report?
Sure. Very, very briefly, we met previous to this meeting. We approved 21 applications for GIS and the 911 wireless funds. I think that project is moving along very well. A lot of counties are taking advantage of them that haven't in the past. So we're looking forward to expending those funds. Don't really have anything else to report.
Okay.
Thanks.
Thank you, Bob. Mr. DeRushi.
All right, I don't have a lot for this group. For those that were able to attend the 911 training session that was held last month, thank you. If not, and you're interested, those slides are available on our website at Homeland Security's website. The other thing that's interesting that I really just got yesterday, but I'm going to be needing to work through, it's something that I think has been in our mind for a while, but now it kind of looks like it's coming to reality. There is a company called J2 Global. It is not a wireless company. It is an app development company that is looking to test the PSAPs that currently have the texting capability. So that brings up a realm of issues such as they're not providing surcharge and making sure it works correctly. Currently, they don't even have any customers in Iowa. That being said, the very nature of wireless phones, you can move. So we're working through that. We'll probably encourage the testing to be done just to make sure, to see what it displays on call taker screens. But like I said, there's a whole host of issues that we'll be working through with that. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you, Blake. Okay, moving on. Kelly, would you like to do a finance report?
Sure. Does everybody have a copy of the full report? There's your representative on that. I have two new committee members, Nikki Whitaker and Sarah McDermott. And Nikki is going to be our vice chairman, so we have a vice chair now, which is going to be very helpful with that committee. And both ladies are part of who put together all of your finances, your financial reports and such. So that'll be very beneficial to have them on the committee. We met November 3rd at 2 p.m. Chair Lampy and Swick Allen joined us on the call, which was very beneficial. Our Sleepy report, that is our grant. Recall that is a $2,070,000 grant. Total spent so far is $653,725. 80% of which was paid by the grant, 20% by ICN. The remaining grant amount is $1,416,597. Expenditures for that grant in October were $26,113. And recall 80% of that is paid for by the grant. In relationship to the Sleepy grant, it calls for 2 deputy SWICs, which you will see that later on in your agenda as action items that we need to take when and if we get formed. We will need to approve the MOU agreement with ICN for a staff member to be a deputy SWIC, and then direct Chair Lampy and Swick Allen to find a second deputy SWIC through the MOU process, which I believe we might have found a candidate already. The sound is of it, but I'm not 100% sure on that. So those are 2 things that we'll need to be doing regarding the grants is to get this deputy SWIC in place there, both of them. Our general appropriation fund from the state, total revenue received is $358,863. Total expended is $111,798. Now that's all the years that we've had it. So far this fiscal year, we have spent $19,052 on that appropriation. And our overall funds available from all the years accumulation is $247,063. Just to let you know, we will be receiving an invoice from ICN at some point in the future for the time and material that they attributed to the data collection for the first net payable through the Sleepy grant. So we'll be getting that invoice. As most of you are aware, they were very essential in our first phase of first net. And then we will also hope to have an estimate to you all in January for, we're going to be co-hosting the broadband summit with Connect Iowa in the spring of 2017. So we'll be trying to start getting some cost estimates on that in January 2016. And that would be all my.
Where are Nikki and Sarah from?
Nikki's with DPS, and Sarah is also with DPS.
And about their finance, Sarah,
Yeah.
Sarah is
Great.
Someone just joined us on the phone?
Yes, Ellen here.
Thank you, Ellen.
Andy Buckley as well.
Thank you, Andy.
That's a very good addition
Yeah.
to our board, or the finance committee. Very helpful to have those 2 ladies on when there's a question on what the expenditure was, the processes of the finance process within the state. So.
Yeah, I want to echo that. There are really people we deal with on a regular basis, and they truly understand the intricacies of getting things done within the state government, and then also dealing with federal grants. So it's very, very helpful. Someone join us on the phone?
Tom Reagan.
Okay. Okay, which looks like, Mr. Chair, it looks like we have a quorum.
Okay. All right. Not to kind of go retroactive here, but now that we have a quorum, can we have approval of today's agenda?
So moved, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Bob.
Second.
Okay. No other discussion on that? All right. All in favor?
Aye.
about the meeting minutes from last month? Has everybody had a chance to look over those? I can have an approval to, a motion to approve those.
So moved with the addition that we do a roll call vote because so many members on.
Bet.
Second, Mr. Chair.
All right. Thank you, Kelly. Thank you, Bob. Sure.
Roll call.
Sure, we do another roll call, please.
Jeff Slandon. Patrick Updike.
Here.
Bob Uni.
Here.
Tom Buckman. Tom Landy.
Here.
John Benson.
Here.
Bob Von Wolfrat.
Present on phone.
Michael Eric. Andy Buffington.
Present on phone.
Ellen Hagan.
Present on phone.
Deb Craybill. Carrie Devine.
Present on the phone.
Jason Leonard.
Here.
Ted Comanches. Michael Casper. Carolyn Smith. Linda Frederickson.
Present on the phone.
Kelly Grosskert. Here. Senator Feenstra. Senator Grace. Representative Kressig. Representative Holt.
Present.
Craig Allen.
Here.
Okay. Quorum's been established. Thank you very much for doing that. So this report's over, 911, report's over, program manager, there was no business and stuff to go over.
We haven't voted for minutes.
Okay,
And that's what I was asking for the roll call.
okay, no problem. So seeing that, can I have approval for the minutes today?
So just one.
Just, can I? Okay, are we voting for the minutes?
We got the first.
That's right, we have first and second. So all in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
All opposed? Okay. People on the phone and stuff, you get a chance to vote? We're gonna need your votes.
Aye. Aye. Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, back to the finance committee. If there was any business and stuff that we need to approve, Kelly, go ahead and finish.
We will need approval for an MOO, memorandum of understanding agreement with ICN for staff members to be, for a staff member of ICN to be a deputy SWIC. And we will also need to direct Chair Lampy and SWIC Allen to find a second deputy SWIC through the memorandum of understanding process to conform with the SLIP requirement that we have 2 deputy SWICs.
Okay.
So I need those 2 motions.
So with those two being that,
The agenda, don't they? He's got it under old business.
old business.
So, just to let everybody know.
Okay, we'll get that at old business then. Okay. Is there anything else on your report, Joe? Okay, moving on to governance. Bob?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chair. Good morning, everybody. So the Governance Committee continues to meet on a monthly basis, and we'll have, I'm going to propose 2 motions under new business when we get to that point in the meeting. That's all I have.
Okay, I appreciate it. Seeing that Chair Comanches is not here, who's the vice chair?
Ellen Hagan, but they were scheduled to meet, they wouldn't have had a meeting because they were scheduled to meet this afternoon, and due to his circumstances, they are not meeting today.
Okay. Ellen, do you have any other report and stuff besides that?
I do not have anything to add.
Okay. Chair Benson, you have the floor, please.
Thank you. At our last meeting, which was rather sparsely attended, our last conference call, received an update from Sean and Craig on the progress that's being made with the outreach outreach being done with regard to RICS and first-hand follow-up, so I'll let Sean cover those. Finalize the skip stuff that's in there, so that'll be our working document moving forward in terms of what we're going to be operating and focusing on in the next year. And also asked us to start exploring the possibility of establishing an interoperability conference sometime next year. So we'll get the committee to start looking at that and generate some ideas and figure out appropriate timelines, those type of things. So not a lot in the report, at least from the committee level.
Thanks, John. Sean, you want to pick up where John left off?
Okay. Since the last committee meeting, we also had a CASM point of contact meeting. As everyone knows, we've been talking and looking through points of contact information across the state. In this meeting, we talked at a high level of things that we need to accomplish as part of this, and some of the, as far as establishing a hierarchy and multi-state access policy, and I won't go through all the list, but we're looking at currently for the RIC workshop a date of January 5th to hold the first broadband committee and hold the RIC training. That would be when we would pull all the RICs in and go through how to run the RIC, how to submit paperwork. The reason why we chose January 5th is because that is also the same date as the First Net Broadband Committee. So we would be having them here for training. They'd go to their first broadband committee meeting, and then they continue out the day with training. So we're trying to get two birds with one stone. Now we have started discussing what would happen if we have heavy snow or something like that, as we know, going into January. And so we are addressing that, but that was one of the things discussed. We have outlined a plan, and I'll send it out to the board. This is just kind of a proposal plan with goals, strategy, and tactics about getting two points of contact for every public safety agency in the state for the top 5 disciplines. And those include law enforcement, fire, EMS, EMA, and the 911, utilizing the 911 point of contact. So our goal, and actually our very aggressive goal, we're looking at an April 30th deadline to have 2 points of contact for each of those disciplines across the state. That's every agency, that's every firehouse, that's every police station, that's every paramedic station across the state. So I'll definitely be looking for help with that. We hope to be able to continue to engage John Tallenschweider with the ICN to assist us with that. We've also put out requests to work with our friends in the training bureau. Tom, I sent Tom a message, our state fire marshal, anyone who may maintain certification and licensing information. And so how this will work is we'll send out a list of everything we have, and we'll ask them to review it and see if it's up to date, and then make sure that the point of contact information. And we are requiring a phone and an email for every single point of contact. So this is one of our big efforts. Like I said, April 30th next year is when we anticipate, that's our deadline. So we're drawing lines in the sand when we're going to do all this stuff. So first RIC meeting, January 5th, and then April 30th deadline. And then we're also looking at February 1st as a deadline for all the RICs to have scheduled their first meeting. And so, of course, we'll work with Swick Allen to make sure that that's acceptable. But when we bring them in on January 5th, we're going to help them make sure that they have their first RIC meeting scheduled, and then I will at a minimum be attending all 6 of those. So many of you would have received these emails outlining everything. We're putting metrics and dates for all of these to show that we have a clear strategy and goals. That's right.
Thank you, Sean. Any questions for Sean? Where is the location location of the meeting?
It will be at DPS on floor 3. We have a very nice conference room scheduled and set up with the help of Dicey and ladies and Sherry. Sherry helped us make sure that that room was available, but it will be in the large conference room in the State Fire Marshal office.
Okay. No question for Sean? Thanks, Sean.
Thank you.
All right, Sheriff Buckman.
Okay, at our last meeting for training and exercise, we did approve and subsequently put in a request for our 2016 technical assistance grant. We are asking for incident dispatcher training, radio training, which is radio operator training, and incident center manager training. And these are all part of the technical assistance grants, so instructors would come to Iowa to do those training sessions. The incident dispatcher training and the radio, or the radio operator, are very similar, but yet their focus is different. So the incident dispatcher training is training very specific to an incident, you know, a hostage situation or whatever. And that would be geared more towards the telecommunicators in their own centers. The radio operator is geared more towards radio operators in the incident management system. So they're similar, but yet the focus is different. And then incident center manager is for first line supervisors, if you will, for a telecommunicator or a dispatch center. We also put in a request for joining with the other Region 7 states to put on a communication unit leader and communication technician train the trainer courses so that we can beef up our instructors for ComL and ComT and be able to provide those courses locally. So that is our request. I have not heard anything back of you, Greg.
No,
and I don't anticipate anything back until about the first of the year, thereabouts. So that was our last meeting. We have set up our very first state-sponsored communication unit leader training. It will be held the week of March 1, 2016 at the Lynn County EOC on the Kirkwood Community College campus in Cedar Rapids. That's a 3-day training. Curtis Walser and I will be conducting that training, and more information will be coming out as soon as we go through the proper procedures. So we're working very closely with Homeland Security Emergency Management, since they are the state training officer, to get everything approved on the Department of Homeland Security side.
Date of the Great Blizzard. Date of the Great Blizzard.
Yes, yeah. We might be able to use our skills. I want to talk briefly about the Camp Dodge exercise. It was held October 17th. And once again, Colonel Hedgepeth did a remarkable job of putting together an exercise. It was a spin-off of the one that was done last spring, but this time he made it more scenario-based. The one last spring was very much, he had things that he wanted to test, and this was scenario-based. We are planning another one in April, and our intent with that is to provide a scenario and have any communication unit leader trainees who are looking at getting their task book signed up come to that exercise and develop the communication plan. So as a result of that, we will test their plan based on the scenario, whatever that may be. I'm assuming some sort of a natural disaster. So each one of these exercises that the Colonel has put together is building off the previous one. I'm really excited about the possibility to have ComL trainees actually put the training on without really realizing it. They'll be given the scenario, and they then will put together all the communications assets. So it should be pretty exciting. That will be held sometime in April. so that our newly minted COML trainees from that March training we will be able to get some hands-on experience, as well as those who have taken the COML training in the past. We also plan to build in some technician-type training, so COMT trainees can also get items signed off in their task book. So should be a great exercise. Really looking forward to that. All that being said, I do have a presentation to make. And before I do this, I just want to talk just really quickly about Bill McCall. Bill retired from DOT and is a very active amateur radio operator and volunteer with Story County EMA. Story County needed to populate their chasm, and if you haven't heard about that, you're going to hear a lot about it in the next few months. They did not have the resources to put the information in the chasm, so they called on a volunteer to do that. And I really encourage counties, as you're looking at populating chasm, to find people in your communities and in your county that are kind of radio savvy and know about communications to populate that information in the chasm. So Bill has done that for Story County, and it sounds like he may be called in by some other entities and counties to assist with that as well. So Bill has completed the communications technician task book. So Bill, I'd ask you to come forward, and Jason and Craig, you can assist me. Bill, you took the COMT in Iowa City, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. And recently got the task book signed off, so we have a certificate to present to him. And this is the credentialed certificate, so he's not certified, he's not licensed, but credentialed, meaning that all of the tasks were signed off, and he is now a fully credentialed communications technician in the state of Iowa. So congratulations.
Thank you, John.
Yeah,
We need to look pretty.
you're ruining town. I got about 20, so we should be good.
Perfect.
That sounds like
Congratulations. Thanks, Bill. Congratulations.
Thanks.
Thank you for coming.
It's good to see you. Good to see you.
So for the other 98 counties and stuff that are out there,
Yeah.
I should look forward to
Call
seeing
Bill.
in the future, right? I don't think you heard me, so
And that is all I have.
it's even better. Thank you. Okay, moving on to technology, Vice Chair update.
Well, since the last time we spoke, we went ahead and submitted all of our camera information to Sean Wagner so that purchase could be made. So he has that information. It includes tripod stand, carrying bag, video camera. So that part should be wrapping up.
It should be in our possession within the next few weeks. It's been ordered. Right, Chair?
Just say it.
Hands out, hands out, hands out.
And I don't know how the board wants to handle this because Tom's got it listed in the agenda as old business, but I was on a conference call for the governance committee with Bob Uni and his group, and Craig Allen was on there as well. We submitted the 2 draft policies, one which I don't have handy, which addresses the P25 encryption. And the other policy statement is 2015-06 draft 1, which is the policy statement establishing Iowa statewide interoperability channels. And thank goodness Rob had one handy here because it's pretty much the finished product.
We have those established in old business too, Patrick, so just let me know.
Do you want me to just leave it at that?
I think that we can wait till then and stuff, and we can talk about it during the old business portion.
Okay, so that's pretty much it for this monthly review
Okay.
until we get to the.
Been busy enough?
Chantel?
Hi. Okay, so with the completion
completion of the RIC workshops on November 10th, the FirstNet Broadband Committee will be inviting the RIC chairs and vice chairs to become members of the committee and attend those meetings by either in person or by video conference. We'll also be working with Sean Wagner to develop deployment processes and schedules, and then eventually develop the FirstNet state plan with the RIC chair and vice chairs. The FirstNet Broadband Committee is also working with the private sector to develop a strategy to provide comment for the FirstNet RFP. They also, in collaboration with the private sector, again, put together a letter regarding procurement for FirstNet for the state of Iowa, and the letter has been released to FirstNet, and it's basically requesting that attention be given to the private sector telecommunications agencies in Iowa during the release of the FirstNet RFP and for that process. The next FirstNet Broadband Committee meeting is scheduled for January 5th. That's all I have.
Thanks, Jen. All right, I'm not skipping over things. So, moving on to other reports. Information sharing amongst board members. Anybody on the phone have anything they need to share? Okay. All right, I will defer to the members that are here present. Anything that need to be shared amongst the board members? Okay.
So I've got a question for Tom, whether or not he wants me to share this. So Tom, the design for, that you had to take a look at and give to our graphics people, do you want me to show you the design that you sent me originally?
Tom Lampy.
Tom Lampy. Maybe Tom had to step away from it. I'll do it anyway.
He's trying, hang on.
He's trying.
Is he moving fast?
Okay, that's fine.
Mute.
So,
All right, so Tom, did you hear the question that Bob presented?
No, I did not.
So Tom, you gave me and sent me a draft graphic that you wanted our DOT graphics people to work on. They haven't had a chance to finish that yet. Would you like me to present your draft concept and present a future design sometime later?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. So given that then, let's pass these around, inside and outside.
Ooh. What is, do we have an
So Tom, I'm passing copies of what you sent me around. Do you want to talk about it?
I'll do my best. The user group committee, if you read their policy statement, I think it's 214.1 or 215.1, requires the user group committee to be stood up. If you read through that, it's best to put it on the graphic. I'll file that probably you can get visual because it gets kind of complicated in how that's formed. So based off the policy that we have, what you're looking at is what we developed off of that by reading through that. What I ask you to do is look that over.
Tom, hold on just a minute. Thomas Craig, Bob passed out a what appears to be a logo for ISICS. I think there was maybe confusion on the two issues. So just to clarify that for you, Tom, what he passed out was an ISICS logo that appears to be graphed and has like radio waves going out from the center of it.
Oh, sure. Okay, I was getting mixed up with the board chart. Okay, yes, that logo, I located, we need some type of a visual logo for the system of ISICS, the Iowa Statewide Interoperable Communication System. I would just ask you to take a look at that, see how you like it, and then agree or disagree that we need some type of logo for any type of paper dealing with this interoperability system for the state that the board is covering here in the next century or two.
So the next thing that's going to happen with this is the DOT graphics people are going to have Iowa Statewide Interoperable Communication Systems Board in a kind of a circle around the outside. And we'll bring it back for future discussion and comment.
Does this replace our current logo or to add to?
This is for the system, for the LMR system. There will be this logo then represents what the system would be recognized as, without having to have all of the words, it's rather wordy. So Armor in Minnesota, Starcom 21 in Illinois, Starcom in the Sioux City area, systems get named. Ours has been named by legislation as ISICSB, so this would have provided a logo for it. I'm holding it up so that it can go on the video recording that's out before us, it goes around the screen. That's what this would represent.
That's it? Okay. Chair Langley, you're still on the phone. This SPOC meeting report in Denver.
SPOC in Denver was a good meeting to learn about the First Net Initiative. We talked a lot about the opt-in, opt-out scenarios for each state, what that really pertains to. We talked about devices that could be allowed on the system. There is a meeting here in the first 2 weeks of December. First Net is coming to town and to meet with the governor. We have that scheduled. That is to talk about 3 different topics that are traveling around the country, and we've got to clear up. And one of those is the opt-in, opt-out, what that truly means for a state. The other is user fees for the state. You can use that money for other things. When you do collect that from a user, which is the law states cannot, it has to be put back into the network. So there's 3 topics we're going to talk about. We have that scheduled for a couple weeks here. I can report out on how that goes on the next board meeting.
Okay. Jim Lundstead, Department of Homeland Security, OEC, are you on the phone? All right. Seeing that the reports are finished, we're going to move on to old business. So Patrick, I'm going to relay this to you. The item number A there. Go ahead.
Okay. I want to discuss the policy statement regarding statewide interoperability channels, because we would like to see the board go ahead and post this policy for 30-day comment. And if you want, I can bypass all the whereas stuff and just get to the meat of it as to what this policy is saying. Whereas the Federal Communications Commission has allowed individual states to govern the use of specific interoperability frequencies. So now, therefore, it is in this policy, the ISICSB policy, that the Iowa Statewide Interoperability Communication Systems Board hereby documents and publishes this policy statement establishing the Iowa Statewide Interoperability channels. It is further policy under this draft that the ISICS board directs the technology committee to define eligibility, usage, frequency, squelch protection, emission types, and etc., and list license as appropriate, publish on the ISICS board website, and review every 6 months the Iowa Statewide Interoperability channels. So let me explain to you what that does.
Are you on A?
Are you on A?
Encryption or B?
B.
Okay, thank you.
I'm on B.
Okay.
Sorry, jumped.
Okay, so we'll talk about B first then.
Well, that goes backwards.
Okay. So we're actually talking about the establishing highway interoperability channels. Okay.
What this policy does is it allows the technology committee to look at frequencies like point-to-point, mutual aid, EMS 340, whatever those frequencies are, and address those issues that come up, such as the interference problems in Shelby County as a result of the 25 data streams coming in on that channel. The board, that by putting this policy into play, the technology committee takes over all responsibility for that. And we, as the technology committee, don't have to come back to the board with a separate policy for each channel that may experience some trouble. And that's the ultimate goal of this policy.
So I'd like to chime in on that. So first, as we look at this, because our board meeting is off, if we decide to post it, I would request that we post it meeting to meeting, as opposed to say a fixed number of days, because our meetings are off a little bit. That's part one. Part two is, we're trying, I believe as a board, we've been making an effort to try and keep our meetings at the 30,000-foot policy level and delegate those technical, down in the weeds kind of issues to the committees and let them have them and deal with those at their meetings. This is a step in that direction. So what it means is that there would then be a report from the technology committee saying what action they had taken and what the logic for that action was, and that the board is delegating it not to take up an hour and a half, as we have done in the past on encryption and other rather down in the weeds kind of things. So this is important to the PSAP community, this particular channel. The 911 Council has been up a couple of times that they really need to find a way to get this fixed before the next interference season comes around. Heat conduction tends to affect that more than others, not that we care, right? Not that people here would care about what causes it, but we need to find a way to get this done so that when it crops up again, we don't have to wait 30, 60, 90 days to fix it. There's some solutions out there, and we have the right people at the table to do that. So I would strongly encourage the board to consider delegating that authority.
Patrick, I have a question for you, just for everybody's knowledge on this. I mean, how many other committees have you engaged in these conversations with this, and how long have we been talking about this?
Other committees?
Right, like, I'm sure that you're talking to Bob and stuff as far as the governors, being involved in it.
Well, we've discussed it with the governance committee.
Right.
I can't say, for sure everybody, but I can tell you there's a lot of people know that there's a problem out there, and we want to get this tackled and put to rest. We would really like to see this board put this policy out for comment as soon as possible.
And just for everybody's knowledge, I mean, you guys have been working on this for quite some time, not just.
Yeah, well, yes.
Right. So.
There's been a lot of moving parts in this whole thing, and we have PSAPs like Cass County and Shelby County there in the western regions that are being impacted probably more than a lot of the other counties. So it's an ongoing problem. Thankfully, we've got winter coming up. That tends to eliminate some of that skip that comes through, but when those summer months come around again, it's just going to happen again and again. So.
Okay. So if there's no other questions, I'll entertain your motion to post it.
I'd like to make a motion that we post draft 2015-06 version 1 for public comment.
Okay. Second. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Tom. Any other discussion on policy being posted?
Jason, if it wouldn't be out of line, I would like to bring up to the committee or the board that just last week, 9 PSAPs in Southwest Iowa had to mute their receivers for this channel because of the, including the State Patrol Dispatch Center, because of the almost nonstop interference. So this is a huge issue.
It tends to be that way all over the state like that, so I appreciate it. So I have a motion and a second. Hearing no other discussion. All those in favor of posting it for comment? Aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. We will post it for a meeting-to-meeting comment. So that was what the motion was. I'm sorry, I misspoke. I said 30 days. So. All right. Would you like to move on to the encryption policy statement?
Yes, I, once again, haven't had a lot of computer time, and so we did discuss the encryption policy with the governance committee, and I spoke with Bob this morning about it, and there doesn't appear to be any issues with his committee. I don't have that draft number handy. This was another policy statement that the technology committee would like to see put out for public comment. I'm going to take a guess at saying that it was probably 2015-05, but
It was.
Okay. This policy, as we've discussed before, addresses encryption key slot protections at a federal level for the state of Iowa and its LMR system build out. It's not set up to tell individual conventional systems that they have to encrypt. It's for the statewide LMR system encryption policy. So if you read it clearly, you will gather that information from that policy, and we would also like to see that policy put out for a comment period. We want to get all of our work done before the end of the year.
I hear that. I hear that. So with that in mind, would you like to make a motion on that?
I'm going to make a motion that we post the draft policy 2015-05 for public comment on our website page.
Thank you. Second to that motion? Thank you, Kelly. Any other comment or discussion on that? Okay. Seeing none, all in favor? Aye. All opposed, same sign. And motion passes. We will be posting on the website for comment until our next meeting date.
Mr. Chair, I have a house cleaning piece to deal with. When we start talking about a topic, I give it the next order number. We are out of order because 04 is not before the board. So what I would like to do is change the number to the order that we use. So 06 becomes 04, and then 05 remains 05 for purposes of publication. So that when it gets cleaned up and it goes to the website. But I would like to have authority that there isn't a concern with that before we go about taking that action. That way we have chronological order on the website. Does that make sense?
Is that confusing when we go back 2 minutes?
Well, it won't be, because that when it gets passed, we'll have the right number on it. It will be posted as 04 and then 05, so the one that the board actually takes action on to the pass, not the post, but the pass, would then be the proper number in sequence. Are we okay with that? Concerned? I don't know that we need any actions, just kind of administrative. I don't think you do either.
Big Bob?
I think we're fine.
Okay. Okay. So we'll just do that.
Yeah, that's.
Thank you for correcting that. All right, the next order of business is the deputy SWICs. We heard a little bit about what Kelly's proposing and or what she had talked about a little bit. If you want to get a little bit more information on it, Kelly.
That is regarding the SLIP grant. Is it required, or do we write it in that we would do? That's the one thing I should have clarified before I got here, and I apologize, that we have 2 deputy SWICs. Part of that is to help with the workload, and part of that is also so that if something should happen to Craig, we have successors. Am I correct on that? One of those deputy SWICs is the ICN network, because ICN has already agreed that we can have one of their staff members be our deputy SWIC. And this will be funded with the SLIP grant, and I believe it's $50,000 per for the deputy. And I'm not sure we want to specifically name the individual person that will be doing that, so that if or a position that's from the ICN, or just let the ICN make sure they know that they're staffing that in our motion. Because if somebody should change jobs, we just wanted that as the ICN, an agreement with the ICN. I believe it's Chantel, are you lucky? No.
So,
Helen, I knew that, I'm sorry. Is our lucky person that's going to be working with us on that.
She's very competent.
Yes. I messed up on the name there, I apologize. So that is what we are doing. We need 2 motions. We need one to enter into an agreement with ICN because they have already agreed to do so for one of the deputy SWICs. And then we need a second motion to direct Chair Lampy and SWIC Allen to find a second deputy SWIC through the MOU process to conform with SLIP. It was discussed that that is by far the easiest way to do this is through that MOU process. Sorry about that. Let me make the first motion.
Tom, you're on the phone still?
Yes.
Do you have any further comment on the proposal of the switch?
Okay, like I said, I could barely hear her. I think I heard that he is there. The also important thing to remember is we submitted our budget modification several months ago based off two deputy SWICs. We reserved over $900,000 for phase 2 that we weren't allowed to spend on the Sleepy grant for data collection and outreach and FirstNet to continue the process through 2018. So we had to redo our budget because they extended the grant until 18. My proposal, part of the proposal was that we had talked about deputy SWICs for several board meetings. So it shouldn't be a surprise. Part of that, up to $50,000 each, is coming out of that phase 2. To spend that money and to benefit the SWIC in order to get this FirstNet initiative in Iowa done the right way. It's not fair to put everything on our SWIC on this with the mountain of work that is ahead of us. We have the money available to do that. It's reserved specifically for phase 2. That's the history on it. The way we do it, the easiest way to do it is to not go out for a nationwide search, is to take existing employees and just reimburse their budgets. We do have one selected in-state. I do want to have a local person. That person has not been found yet. So I do want a local and a state representative doing that. It does two things. It helps our mission with FirstNet. It also trains other SWICs. Those two will be trained by only Craig to get experience as a SWIC. Because I don't think Craig's going to probably want to stick around forever. So we're prepared so we can have a SWIC later that's knowledgeable and just keep passing on. Hey, that's all I have to say. Let's take a question.
I'd like to dovetail in on that, Tom. The piece is that one of these two that you select may not choose to participate or wish to be the SWIC in the future. They may come in and say, hey, that's a great job, but that's not something I want to do. I like what I'm doing. But what it does do is it gives the board a depth of bench. They can continue to do what they're doing while you look for a replacement. If something, if I have a heart attack tomorrow and I'm unable to perform my duties, Tom Lampy can't do everything I'm doing, everything he's doing, and everything that needs to be done. And right now, that's, we've got the point of the spears not deep enough for what you've got coming. Just standing up the LMR system, other states, 3, 5, 7 people are dedicated full-time to getting that done. You've got 2. And then on top of that, the National Public Safety Broadband Network. We don't know what that looks like, but it's easy to see that 2, 3, 4 people need to be assigned to get all this stuff done that's assigned there. So this is merely an inoculation towards trying to keep from catching a really bad cold if something were to happen to Tom or I. So that's the 2 cents I'd like to add to what he says. Because they may not be the candidates that you would want or that they would want to be SWIC, but they are certainly the people we're talking to are extraordinarily qualified and competent and will bring a lot of value to the table and getting things done that need to be done.
Okay. I appreciate both. If I'm going to entertain a motion and a second, I'm going to require a roll call vote on that after that. And this type of money, I'd like to hear everybody personally. So
I will move that we approve a memorandum of understanding agreement with the ICN for a staff member to be deputy SWIC.
Okay. All right. I hear the motion. Do I hear a second?
I'll second.
Thank you, Kelly, for the motion. Thank you, Tom, for the second.
So just a question, if I may. Do we want the specificity in there of ICN, or do we just want to be able to enter into have an MOU?
Is the agreement directly with ICN or is it with the state?
Well, it is today. But I don't know what it will be in the future. Is that my only suggestion? I'm suggesting maybe we need more future flexibility.
So the ability of the board, you're recommending that the board, if I'm clarifying, the board enter into an agreement with someone for a deputy SWIC. At this point, it's the ICN.
It's an unstated ICN, and that gives us more future flexibility as I see it, but I'm just offering that suggestion for discussion.
I think that's.
Okay, great. Kelly, Tom, and Kelly, would you be willing to change that to that? Tom?
Yep.
Okay.
Did you get that? No.
Okay.
I
Would you
think-
amend it, please?
What they are doing is, instead of specifying ICN, that we are entering into an agreement for a staff member to be a deputy clerk position. Now, does ICN need us to approve that for their budget purposes?
We can put that in the language, the MOU will clarify.
That's where the specificity
You'll
goes.
specify it in the MOU.
So should it be enter into an MOU or enter into an agreement with a state agency?
There you go.
Provided that
State
it's
agency.
right.
That, is that what you're thinking about?
I'm just thinking, I need group,
That doesn't need to be a
Okay.
state agency.
no clarification.
Somebody, when he's after he's retired. Okay, so
It's shares, consider it left here.
now just to clarify again, okay, we talked about this again, so are we entering into an agreement with a person from an unspecified agency? Or just entering into an MOU agreement with an entity to serve as the deputy SWIC?
I think that's a good one.
And I didn't, an individual,
I think that's the language right there
okay?
for the motion. Entering into an MOU agreement with an entity for a deputy SWIC. So does that, take care of both of us?
I think it gives us the flexibility, future flexibility we need, is in my opinion.
Any other further discussion on that? Okay. We have the motion, we have the second still, Tom? Okay. So Sherry, can you go ahead with the roll call, please?
Jeff Swearengin. Patrick Epstein.
Aye.
Tom Ewing.
Aye.
Tom Buckman.
Aye.
Tom Landy.
Aye.
John Benson. Bob Von Wolfrack.
Aye.
Michael Arrick. Andy Buffington.
Aye.
Ellen Hagan.
Aye.
Deb Craggle. Carrie Devine.
Aye.
Jason Leonard.
Aye.
Ted Comanches. Michael Casper. Carol Lynn Smith. Linda Frederickson.
Aye.
Kelly Grosskreutz. Aye.
Okay. With 12 ayes, the motion passes. Thank you very much, everybody. Now we need the second portion of that.
The motion to, I move to direct Chair Lampy and SWIC Allen to find a second deputy SWIC through the MOU process to conform with the sleepy requirement.
Okay. Hearing the motion, any second?
I'll second.
Thanks, Tom. Okay. I don't think we're going to require a roll call vote on that, just to try to find one, so it's been moved and seconded. Any other further discussion on this? Seeing none, all those in favor? Aye. All those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you very much, Ms. Kelly. Moving on to new business. Item number 8, UGC Committee Establishment. Bob.
Okay, thank you. Fellow board members, I handed out a folder, manila folder, earlier in the session. I'd like to bring your attention to that, please. So at the end of my discussion, I'm going to make two motions. The first motion will be to stand up or to establish the user group standing committee. And the second motion that I'll make will be to approve Chair Lampy's appointment of a chair to that committee if in fact Chair Lampy has one to appoint. So the first order of business is to stand up the committee. So the first document in your folder just gives a little bit of background on documents you've received previously that talk about the user group committee, and in fact we'll be talking about that today. The second document with the yellow highlighting on it is what I would call a roadmap for today and for the future. The future is highlighted in yellow, And today is, I gotta have it divided up into motion 1 and motion 2. So motion 1 will be, and this, the exact language here was worked out in a kind of a conference call that Tom Lampy and Chair Benson and I had on November 5. And wanted to be sure that you had, it wasn't ad hoc language, it's pretty firm language, so we knew what we're voting on. And so, to give a little bit more background, we have administrative rules that cover some of our processes here that the board does. And the administrative rule that talks about committees has the following language. A standing committee may be created or disbanded by majority vote of the voting members of the board present at any board meeting. So it needs board action to stand up a committee. This is the first standing committee that we have established. The second part that's relevant to this is that the chairperson of the board, with the approval of the board, shall appoint members of the standing committee, and that includes the chair. And the chair of the standing committee has to be a member of this committee. So the chair of the committee is somebody from this committee. And let's say the chairperson of each standing committee shall be a voting member of the board. Okay. So as you look through the documentation, the policy statement that comes next in the pack is policy statement 2015-01. We passed that in March. And the second part of that, which is shown on page, which is on page 2 of 3, did not receive a whole lot of board discussion. And the first part received a significant amount of discussion, if you recall. But on the bold on page 2, it is further policy that this talks about standing up the user group committee. And if you flip it one more page, I've taken the liberty to reformat some of those words so that it's a little easier to see what the language is. So that's the page that has all the yellow highlighting on it. Okay. And so this user group committee will have a chair, and it'll have no more than 18 voting members from county and local, and it'll have no more than one additional vote per state or federal agency operationally using the platform. And it goes on to have the RIC chairs be members of this committee. And we've got those people identified now, and that's what's really kind of moving this thing along. Then we have a list of non-officio or non-voting members. And this list has 22 different entities designated, and yet on item 23 is room to add more if needed. The last graphic shows my view of what those words say. And so there's two graphics here. The first one is what I think I just read. And the blue kind of corresponds, I intend to have some blue kerning on the graphic. In the language. The black is the state agencies, the blue is the 18 positions. The boxes with the red squares around them correspond to the boxes with the red square on the next page. And then the yellow is the yellow on the highlighted language. So let's flip to the next page, which looks like this. This is the way I see the committee being stood up initially, but that's up to the chair and board management to do that. So the second motion I make will be to appoint, to have Tom, or to approve Tom's nomination of a board chair, or a board member to be chair of this committee. And then the 6 squares on here are our RIC chairs. And so that has red around them because that corresponds with the 6 squares on the first page. So, last week we got Region 2 represented. That was the last one we had to get done, and that was a pretty active meeting too. That was an interesting meeting to attend. Okay, do we have any questions about the user group that you'd like to bring up for discussion at this time?
I do. If you'll go to me on this page, it says Fire Chiefs Association, and in Iowa we have 2. We have professional fire chiefs and we have volunteer fire chiefs. don't know that it has to have action at this particular moment, Bob, but under number 23, we'll be asking the chair or the governance committee to clarify that and allow an additional member, one representing professional and one representing volunteer, so that both entities have adequate representation at the table.
Okay, Craig, thank you for those comments, and I agree with the point you made. Are there additional comments or questions? This is exciting, because we've been working a lot of years to get to this point. In fact, I think we've been working since 2007 to get to this point, where we can start to involve the local users, the local user community, along with others, that have some say and be represented. And this is how we do it. This is exciting to me.
Good work on this too.
Okay, so given that, then, I'm going to refer back to this page and the motion language in this page for motion 1. And so I move to create a standing committee called the User Group Committee, which fulfills policy statement 2015-01. The purpose of the committee is to coordinate interactions and identify needs between board and local user communities for land mobile radio and data/broadband implementation and operations. And then it's back to you, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Hearing that motion, do I hear a second?
Second.
Thank you, John. Any further discussion on the first motion on the table? Hearing none, all those in favor signify by aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. All right, motion passes. Thank you, Bob.
Okay, the next step here is to defer to either you, Chair Leonard, or to Chair Lampy for a nomination for a person on the board to be the chair of this standing committee.
Okay. Tom, I know that you and I have talked about it a little bit already, so Mr. Lampy, if you're on the phone still, would you like to comment on that?
Obviously, we need the chair, like Bob mentioned, to be board. If there's anybody interested in that, we should step forward. If not, we can continue to educate the board on the importance of that committee, and hopefully we'll get a chair out of that. It's probably one of the most important committees we got. The actual committee that looks at users that are on the system that we want to join, and the rules and the MOUs that you do join. It's a very important committee. So we have come up with a nomination today. We can still educate everybody to get the zero chair. So I'd ask you to consider the importance of it, and if you are interested in anything like that, if you're not today, that's fine.
Right. Kind of got to help myself. I'm sorry. I heard the motion from Bob. I should have asked for a second on that before I asked for a discussion point, Tom. So did I hear the motion on that?
So we need to have a nominee from Tom before we vote on it. And as I heard Tom say, we do not have a nominee unless someone self-nominates Tom, and then Tom has to bring that forward.
Okay.
So there's no need then for a motion number 2 unless we have a candidate today. And I guess from my point of view, there's no hurry in this, but we need to get this committee going at some point.
We do need that position filled by January 5th, and I would actually suggest that we need that position filled a month before that, because there's a lot of work that person and I believe Chair Benson and others will need to work on it.
Okay. So hearing that, Mr. Lampy, I know that we all have some work to do so we get that filled. So I don't have any nominations for anybody. So.
And that's okay. We'll continue to educate and recruit somebody here. But that needs to be done soon.
Okay. All right. Hearing none, moving on. We'll open the floor for public comment. Anybody present today have something to share? Anybody on the phone have something to share? I'm sorry, go ahead, Bob.
Just
regarding the interference we're having in western Iowa, you're gonna post the policy till the next meeting?
To the next meeting for
And
comment.
then you'll vote on it at the next meeting, and then there'll be action taken to resolve it.
That's the plan anyway,
So another 45 days.
so, could be,
Okay,
so.
great. Glad to see it get done.
So, any other public comment? Those on the phone, no public comment?
Jason, Tom,
Yes, sir.
it's hard to hear, but did the board give you approval to appoint the chair, or did they want a specific name before they approve it?
This is Bob, Tom. I think we need a specific name before us in order to approve that person. So it has to be nominated, in the administrative rules, it requires the chair to nominate that person, and then the board to vote on it. So yes, it's got to be a specific person.
Okay, thanks.
All right, hearing no other public comment, I guess I will entertain a motion to adjourn our meeting. Thank you, John. Second. Thank you, Mr. Uni. Meeting adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody.